Hi guys, this is Malcolm here. I'm going to show you a very quick demo of the Ecobase database I did for the drinking water results, which I'm going to expand to handle some other data as well for yourselves and some other groups. You'll get a login like this. It'll be a bit prettier than this when it turns from a prototype into a real thing. But I'll give you a URL and you'll get a username and password and you'll log in here. That gets you onto our servers here and directly onto the Ecobase and straight, in this case, onto the drinking water report. What you'll see is a mega report like this with all the results that are stored, sorted in pages. Now, there are about 20,000 results per year in Ireland, and we're going to store about 10 years maybe. We should plan for that anyway. So it's probably talking about 200,000 results. So when you get this opening page, you get the first you get a group, which is not all of them obviously on the first page. It's divided in pages and you move down the report by clicking on that here. You also get all of the columns here. So all the parameters are tested and you can see it's huge. So cryptosporidium, total indicative, I'm not going to go through them all. You know, trihallomethanes, total organic, sodium, selenium, pesticides, pHa, oxidizability, all these things, all these parameters are here, right? So it makes the report enormously wide. But when you get the default report, that's what you get. Now, this is the important thing. This is an interactive report, so that means you can build your own report from this. And you can save your own report, and you can save the results of your own report, and you can reuse your own report. So if, for example, you want to build a report which just shows the coliform counts where there's an exceedance, and it only shows it in County Cork, you can build it using this here menu, the Actions menu, and there are a lot of things you can do. You can sort the data, you can break the data on a particular column, you can highlight data that shows a particular value or range of values, you can make computations between two columns. So if you wanted to say the percentage of fecal to total coliforms, you could build that calculation into the report, and you can save that report and reuse it. You can aggregate, so you can do things like, you know, you've got everything here: sum, average, count distinct, minimum, maximum, median. You can build these aggregates onto any set of data that you choose, yeah. And you can then save the report that contains all those filters and computations and aggregates as your very own report, and you can reuse it when you like. You can also you can use data on the report to chart. So you could, for example, build a diagrammatic representation of, for example, the incidence of exceedances for a particular parameter like cryptosporidium in a particular over a number of years. Like you could count the number of incidents per year, and then you could use that report output to build a chart, yeah. And that's very useful. You can group it by a particular set of data as well. And the very useful ones are obviously sorts, so you want to sort it in a certain way. By default, it's sorted by sanitary authority and then date in descending order. So we're starting with Carlo, the very latest one in Carlo. And this option here, rows per page, just defines how many rows you want to show on a page. The format one is where the really interesting stuff is. This is where when you build a report, you can save it. You can say, I want to save this as a named report, give it a name, your description, and it's there for you when you want to use it again. You just pick it and it runs again against the current set of data. So if you had, for example, a report that showed you cryptosporidium exceedances, you could reuse it with any number of local authorities, or all local authorities, or just 1 year's data, or all years data, or a new set of data that comes in for, say, 2010. You can rerun your report against it, pick up the outputs again. So this is very useful. And saving it, resetting just resets all. If you're building a report, an interactive report, and you make a complete mess of it, you can just reset all the parameters back to default, and you'll get the full set of data again that you see at the beginning. Help, there isn't any at the moment, there will be some soon. Download, this is useful because when you've built a report and you want to send it to somebody, you want to be able to download it. You got all these formats available, so you can build a nice report that gives you useful data or give you useful information, and you can output it into a download file, a comma separated file, say for Excel. If you want to use it on your website, you can turn it into an HTML, ready-made HTML page, ready to deploy. You can send it to somebody directly with an email, but I would recommend that you don't, because it looks nicer when you use this, which is a PDF. It'll output your report in a nice fully formatted PDF file. You can then save that and attach it to an email. Looks a lot more professional. Or you can output it as a rich text format file, so it's usable in lots of Microsoft applications, including Word, and it's got the full rich format with it. Yeah. So this is useful to get your data out and get it out to the people who need to see it, or attach it to a document, or attach it to an email, put it on your website, whatever. The top one here is very useful because, as I just showed you, there's loads and loads of columns here because there's lots and lots and lots of parameters, and not all of them have a value. Where there's nothing in the parameter results, it means it hasn't been tested, and that's different to where there's a zero. It means it's been tested but nothing was found. So a lot of the time things are not tested because not all parameters are tested all the time. But you don't always want for any particular report to show all these parameters. So what you can do with this select columns is you can say, I don't want any, I just want total coliforms. I don't want any of these other parameters. You just mark them and say, I don't want them in the display. See, I don't want to display them, yeah? And what that'll do is it'll make your very unwieldy report very, very much more manageable all of a sudden. So it's quite narrow now. It's not a great big wide report. You can also say, I don't want these things. They're useless to me with name of laboratory. Who cares? So you can take those out. You can say select columns. I don't want those. Name of laboratory. Total chlorine. I don't want this. You may want the sample code. That could be useful. So take those out, and it starts making the report nice and manageable. That's basically what you've got. And then you can go and save it. Oops, yeah, save it as, you know, whatever you want to call it, yeah, as a named report. We're not going to do that just now, but you can do that right now. But let's say, well, okay, we now have a report that shows only total coliforms. We want to show only occurrences where there's been an exceedance. So you can filter out the irrelevant ones. You can say where coliforms is not equal to 0. But that's not enough, is it? That only tells you why it was tested but didn't exceed 0. But let's get rid of those anyway. I'm going to start showing real results. And we also don't want the ones where coliforms were not tested. So in other words, there has to be a value in there. So we don't want the null ones. So now we only get a report with real exceedances. And again, it's page by 25, every 25 pages. And I can tell you there are many, many occurrences where coliforms have been detected, but that's not that unusual. You can increase that number of pages if you want to see a bit more. Don't increase it too much, because if you put all, you're going to get 200,000 records back, and it's going to take ages, and it's going to just jump up my server, try and search for data you don't really want to see. Keep it at a reasonable, readable level, and filter out your data. You don't want to see everything all the time. You only want to see certain data. So use these filters, save your reports, and then you'll create optimized, efficient, readable, useful reports. Play with the compute and aggregate. You can produce some really powerful outputs with this. You can chart the data. You can chart scatter diagrams of incidents by year, or percentage occurrences by year or by area. You can do a lot of things with that. Grouping it's also very useful. You play with these things till you get a feeling for it. If we get all of the drinking water data up that we can get electronically, you'll have a very powerful lever with the EPA and with for finding correlations and hotspots with other environmental issues like runoff from disturbed peat bogs. And there's no limit to this really. We can join this table to any other table with things like incidents of groundwater and surface water contamination. for a particular area. And that's it. I'll put a couple more videos up for you at some point with more sophisticated things, but that's the basic report. I'll send you the link, and I'll send you the logins, and hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's useful to you. Cheers.